You're locked in with 716 Live. I'm Saundra Adams, and thank you for joining us here in the studio. I have a community leader who is making a difference and impacting the lives of our youth in the city of Buffalo, Duncan Kirkwood. Thank you for joining us.
It's an honor to be here.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm feeling great. Beautiful weather, and I'm honored to be here at 716 Live.
Thank you. We're glad to have you. So I know that you have many hats. I know you're a speaker, you're an author, you're a trainer, you're an advocate. So tell us a little bit about who you are under all those umbrellas.
Yeah, so I'm from Buffalo, New York. I was born and raised here over in Central Park, so not too far from here.
Yeah.
Grew up, and it was at the time I was young, it was really rough in Central Park. So my mother really wanted me to go to college outside of Buffalo.
Okay.
So I was at Performing Arts, and I ended up going to college in Montgomery, Alabama, Alabama
Nice.
State University. It's a historically black college. And I wasn't the best high school student. You know, I was smart, but I was lazy. And so going to a HBCU, it really pushed me to do better because the professors expected more of me. And it was like black excellence everywhere.
Yeah.
It was like black people doing well and not tearing each other down and expecting you to do well. And so, I was there in Montgomery. I was elected student body vice president, and then student body president the next year, which really got me into advocacy because right around that time, the issue in Gina, Louisiana happened with the Gina 6. So that was like my first rally, and we was on CNN. It was like this whole big thing. And, then I joined the military. I served 8 years in the Alabama Army National Guard, ultimately becoming a first lieutenant. And what happened was in 2012, we had more soldiers die from suicide than die in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wow.
So the Army trained officers like me to become master resilience trainers. So we would go to different units to help soldiers become more resilient, mentally tough, and mentally agile. That was really the catalyst for me writing a book on resilience called Rerouting, Resilience Tools and Tactics, which I published in 2020. And then what happened was I had this big book launch planned, and then COVID hit.
Right.
And canceled all of those plans. And what we found quickly was that feelings of isolation and anxiety and depression were going up. We had reached decades-long highs of suicide and other issues. And so the training on resilience and mental toughness really became more important, more needed. So schools started calling me from across the country to come do workshops and trainings. And so, since that time, I have, worked with Wake Forest University. I've worked with a college in East Singapore, in Calcutta, India, about 13 different school districts in the state of Utah, and everywhere in between. And so I've addressed over 140,000 young people and teachers, because I also train teachers at K through 12 and at colleges. Like I did the training for teachers at SUNY Dale High campus. And so it's been an incredible journey to be able to use my gift to make a difference in the world, to help people, to advocate. And I'm skipping over a bunch of stuff, right? Because I've also, I ran a Black Lives Matter chapter 4 times. I've written state laws in Alabama and worked on state policy here in New York, and just a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
But, all of it really has come out of my desire to bloom where I'm planted.
Exactly.
And use my gift to make the world, make my world, make my community better than I found it. And just happy to be here.
So right now, with working with youth here, how are you trying to make their lives better in Buffalo?
Yeah, so I had this vision years ago. All right. So part of my leadership journey, there was 2 really pivotal moments in my journey and development as a young person, as a leader. Number 1 was joining a fraternity. Right, so the process to join a fraternity, I remember Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the oldest black intercollegiate fraternity.
Yeah.
And so that process, and then going through Army boot camp. That was 9 weeks where I was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, going through boot camp. Those 2 processes transformed me in every possible way.
Wow.
So I've always had this vision to take what I learned from them and create something for young people.
Okay.
And the last few years, it's COVID, it's other stuff. And I said, this year, we're coming out of pandemic, we're doing it. Yeah. So I'm going to condense all of the lessons, not all, many of the lessons that I learned from those trainings into a 3-day youth immersion leadership conference at Beaver Hollow. So we're going to have 50 black boys. We're going to take them to Beaver Hollow, and we're going to teach them personal narrative, self-discipline, mental health, physical health, leadership, resilience, and so much more. And we're going to like transform their lives, but it's gonna have that boot camp feel. Like
Okay.
it's gonna feel, they're gonna be running, they're gonna be singing cadences, they're gonna be marching. They're gonna learn how to tell their personal story. I tell the parents, like, think of it like Army boot camp meets Tony Robbins.
Okay.
So it's gonna be like a mix of that type of feel through the 3 days, which is gonna launch a 12-month initiative where we'll meet each month and have different workshops for the young people. So for example, Rich Products, who owns the Bisons, I say you could bring them to a Bisons game. Northland said we'd love to give them a tour of the Northland site and teach them about, careers in advanced manufacturing and stuff. And so we're gonna do these type of monthly experiences / do trainings on like time management, on how to get the most out of school, et cetera. So that'll kind of be the cadence that we use throughout the year, and we're hoping that it's a transformational experience. And then Independent Health Foundation, who's our main sponsor, has already said they would be willing to put up the money to sponsor the same type of initiative for 50 young women in late
that's
spring.
beautiful.
So come late spring, I've got some, obviously I won't be there the whole time. We'll have some female trainers.
Awesome.
We'll have some amazing leaders from our community that are women. They'll lead the training as we kick off a 12-month initiative for young girls as well. And so they'll kind of be running concurrent.
Okay, so that's awesome. I didn't even know that second part, so that's beautiful. That's like, that'll be really good for our girls out here too. So what is the criteria for boys and young girls, like their parents or guardians, who would want them to try and become a part of this?
So the ages are 15 to 18.
Okay.
And the reason I chose those ages is because I don't want too wide of a variance in the ages. But it's not a hard and fast rule. So like we got like 5 14-year-olds that have signed, parents have signed up their 14-year-old, and like one 19-year-old. But generally the ages are 15 to 18.
Okay.
I'm targeting, I don't like the word targeting. I'm choosing to really focus on the 14215 zip code and surrounding areas, because in 14215, everything that you can measure that's bad is the worst in New York State in 14215. Infant mortality, breast cancer, hypertension, asthma, high school dropout. Everything that you can measure that's bad is the worst in 14215. So I'm really hoping to have most of the young men come from that zip code or surrounding, obviously adjacent zip codes. That's really the only requirement. And the parent is going to be committed to, communicate, follow up, get them to the workshops and everything. And it's kind of like first come, first serve. And so far, we have 46 young people registered, but only 23 have completed the registration. So some of them have like done the initial sign up, but they haven't responded and haven't followed through. So we've still got spots left if people are interested. I don't imagine we'll have spots left for long after this powerful interview on 716 Live. But so if parents are interested, they need to go ahead and sign up. And listen, this is going to be a game changer. Like this program, I'm going to pour all the lessons and knowledge. I'm bringing in a trainer from LA. He's a retired Army captain. Now he's an NBA agent.
Wow.
I'm bringing in a trainer from Birmingham, Alabama, a colleague of mine who's the managing partner of a law firm, came from nothing, single parent home. Now he is literally running a multi-million-dollar law firm with his name on it. It's his named law firm. And so bringing him in to train, and then we're going to have some volunteers from our community, some men from our community that have volunteered to come do workshops and sessions as well.
Okay, that's awesome. You have some heavy hitters, huh?
I'm trying. And then me, I'll be there too.
Yeah. So what is one thing that you want these young boys to take from this program all year long? Like what most do you want them to take from it?
So I will say it's 2 things.
Okay.
So the first thing is I want these young men to understand that they are responsible for their own lives. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you came from, if your dad is in your life or not, if your cousin got shot, if you was bad in school last year, whatever. You are responsible for your own life. Yeah. Against all adversity, you can do it. Yeah. You have what it takes to be smart enough, you're strong enough, you're worthy enough for greatness, for goodness, for college, for trade school, for military, for whatever you want to do. You can have it. All you got to do is decide you're not going to take no for an answer. Exactly. Against every possible setback, trauma, adversity that you've been through. Mm-hmm. That's number 1. Number 2, I want doing the right thing to be cool. I want these 50 young men to be like the cool 50 young men. I'm gonna, I already talked to the mayor. They're gonna get awards. We're gonna make sure that they get opportunities for grants, like micro grants through the like national organization like America's Promise Alliance.
Okay.
They have grants, micro grants for youth. So I'm gonna walk them through doing that. So they're gonna be getting paid through these micro grants. They're gonna get local recognition. They're gonna get national recognition, right? I want it to be like a thing where other kids in their neighborhoods can look at them and say, wow, they're on TV again. Oh, wow, I saw you on the news. I want to be like you. Or they see them making money, not doing the wrong thing, but doing the right thing and actually making money. Not like just $20, $300 here, $500 for this, $1,000 for this. And they're taking advantage of these opportunities. So other young people are like, how do you do that? How do you get involved? And now they're becoming leaders and people can look to them for role models and guidance as opposed to looking and going down the wrong path. And so those are the two things that I'm really hoping to get out of this entire initiative.
Yep. And when you mentioned, I think with our youth now, like I don't think they really understand that every day you wake up with a choice. Like, yes, we all go through stuff. We lose people. Life is hard. But we make choices. Like, you have to get up every day and be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be a great person today. I'm going to go out here and do my best. I'm going to go out here and find a job. I'm going to go out here and not beat up the kids on the corner. Like, I think your program will really help, do that. Like, that's what we want out here in our community. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm so glad you're doing that.
Yes, thank you. And I don't know who told young black boys that it's okay to be stupid.
Yep.
Like, who told them it's cool to be useless and stupid? And, you talk to a young black boy, hey, what do you think it is? I don't know, right? And it's like, I don't know who made that cool, but we got to make them unlearn that, right? Like, this idea, so that's why the name of this initiative is called Unleash Your Greatness, right? Because we're starting with the premise that there's greatness in every one of these children, and we just have to tap the right buttons to unleash it. So we're going to put them in leadership positions. So for example, when we get there, the first thing we're going to do is assign everybody a battle buddy. That's one thing we did.
I love that.
That's one thing we did in basic combat training. As soon as you get there, you get a battle buddy. So for the entire time, you got somebody you never met, they your new best friend. You are responsible for the other person just like you're responsible for yourself. So if they go to the bathroom, you standing outside holding a book bag, right? And so you're responsible. So for that whole time, right? That's number one. Then they're going to be broken into 5, 10-person ranks, right? So each rank will be essentially like its own mini group. So they'll have a line president, they'll have a squad leader, they'll have, right? So they'll have different shared leadership roles in each group. And because of that, they'll have to rise to these occasions, right? And then they'll see they can do it. They'll start to believe they can speak up. They'll start to have opinions. We'll ask them their thoughts on things, right? We'll push them to memorize poems, like encouraging poems like Invictus or Don't Quit. And so we're going to push them and stretch them. But we know that they can do it. So we're starting with the premise. We know that they can exceed our goals. They just don't know it yet.
They have to show it for themselves, and they're going to learn that.
Yep.
That's awesome. So with that being said, because I know you mentioned the girls coming. So do you have an idea of, like, would that be the same type of training, or would it be a little easier, or is it still just as hard for girls?
So it's going to be 100% just as hard.
Okay.
In no way are we gonna, make it any easier.
So I had to ask.
when I was going through basic training, some of the best soldiers we had were young women.
Yes.
I mean, any person, however they identify, however they show up, has the capacity for greatness, right? They have the capacity to be the best versions of themselves. They just need a push. Oftentimes, we don't know what we're capable of until our limits are tested. And growing up in our communities, we deal with so much trauma. We're in survival mode so much. We don't really get a chance to see how smart we can be, or how strong we can be, or how vulnerable we can be, because we're always trying to just make it to the next day.
That can be so tough.
And that's not normal. One thing from all my traveling that I found is how we live here in Buffalo in the black community. It's not normal. Right? Like, for us, it's normal, right? This is what it is. We all kind of grew up in this space, but it's not normal.
No, it's not.
There are black communities around this country where people are thriving, where schools are graduating 80% of their kids, 90% of their kids, and they're like, and the district is looking at them like, why is it only 85%? Like, they getting in trouble as districts for only graduating 85%, right? There are communities where black people are doing well, have doctorates, have law degrees, have nice houses, and are not hating on each other. Right. There are communities where you feel safe to walk in your own neighborhood by yourself at night. Right. what we're dealing with here is not normal. And somewhere along the line, we just been beat down by waves of false promises from leaders and electeds and, all of this stuff that we just got to a point where we accepted this is just what it is. And it's not okay. Like the fact that we've accepted it is the tragedy, right? And because we have the capacity for so much. Like I have seen Black people getting it. People look at me like, Duncan, you're doing so good. You're speaking all over the place, and they're like high-fiving me. So in my circle of people often that I grew up with and stuff, I'm like the unicorn. Like, oh my gosh, Duncan, right? But when in my circle of friends from around the country, I'm at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like the guy who's coming from Birmingham, he's legit a millionaire. He's 8 months older than me, and he is a multi-millionaire law attorney. I got another friend who just got a job at Google in New York City.
Nice.
Right? Like, so his starting salary with benefits is like $250,000. Right? He's 4 years younger than me. And so just to understand that there is more, and we can have it, and we should feel like we not just want it, we expect it for our community. See, that's one, like, okay, I ain't gonna get on my soapbox, but like when you look at schools like City Honors or Olmsted, or you go to the private schools like Nichols or some of these really good schools, they expect greatness from every kid. They treat the kids like we expect you to go to a high-end 4-year college. That's the expectation. You go to some of these other schools, the expectation is that they're going to be bad. They're going to be violent. They're going to be a problem. Right? So the expectations are different, so the results are different. If you treat young people like criminals, they will act like criminals. If you treat them like scholars, they will act like scholars, right? And so we just have to get into our own heads that what we're dealing with is not normal. We can have better, and we can get it. And I'm just going to try to impart some of that energy into these young people, raise their vibrations so that they see themselves as these great, incredible, change the world, money-making scholars, right? And then they have now this brotherhood, this collective of other young men who to reinforce that, right? Because a lot of times we might be wanting to do better, but if the people in our circle are like, nah, let's go do the wrong thing, let's go smoke, let's go do this, we'll get sucked into that. But we're gonna build a community where they got other people saying, hey, what you do, how'd you do on your test, right? They got other people saying, hey, I need help with math. Okay, we got you. I'm gonna come over to your house today. We're gonna you right? All of a sudden, we've got this network of young men that are all supporting each other as well, and they're building on that support and on that love where they feel supported. In Buffalo, I got some people who are really, I know some people who are really doing well, but they're afraid to post on social about how well they're doing because it's so common that as soon as you post that you're doing good, people start hating on you. People start tearing you down. So they hide their greatness. They like actually shrink so that others around them don't feel insecure. And if you look at like the poem by Marianne Williamson, Our Deepest Fear, it actually says that there's nothing enlightened about shrinking so others around you don't feel insecure. When we are liberated from fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Exactly.
And so we have to be able and strong enough to say, I'm winning. I'm winning. You can win too. Let's do it. And support each other. And that's what we're going to put into these young men.
Yeah. So you are definitely aiding in helping to raise our next generation of leaders. Like that matters, and that's awesome. It's such a beautiful thing. So, with raising them and helping and all of that, is this going to be a yearly thing? Is it going to be annual? Like, is this something that you want to try and make a staple here over the next 10, 20 years? Do you see that, or what's
so
your vision?
as we're getting closer to the kickoff, the 3-day conference, I was in talks with Independent Health Foundation. And they share my vision that we want this to be an annual thing that we're doing for young men and young women each year. They said this is going to be their staple education initiative. So we are looking at doing this they said they're going to also help us raise money and write us into grants and stuff. So we're looking at making this a yearly, initiative for, like I said, young men and young women. My vision though is, to do it at the highest level this year, change the lives of these young men. Then in the spring, do 50 young women. And then in the next summer, do 50 more young men. And then kind of have them running concurrent like that. And then after both of them are rolling, pick another city. I want to do Charlotte. I want to do Montgomery because, like I said, that's where I went to college at. I want to do Pittsburgh. And so I want to pick 4 or 5 more cities and begin to have conversations with foundations there, with their, like I know the mayors of all those cities, and start to do work with them to set the foundation to launch it in those cities as well. So the idea would be we eventually would have a national youth initiative that is intense, that's happening, where we're really doing the same type of thing across multiple cities, multiple regions of the country.
That domino effect is very smart. So for parents, youth that sees this interview, how can they get in contact with you if they want to be a part of this program?
Yeah, so parents can register their children on my website. It's duncankirkwood.com/greatness. And it has all the registration information on there. It's really simple. If they have questions, they can call me. My cell phone number is 716-308-0506. I get calls, emails, texts all the time, so I got no problem. People can text me. Like I said, it's 308-0506. Because people have questions. These are their kids, right? Like,
and
so
they should have questions.
Yeah, if you want, I got one parent. She texts me every day with another question. She literally on the way up here, she texts me. So are they gonna have their own beds? How many people to a room? Like how many chaperones? You know,
that
and
matters.
So I'm okay. Like I'm fully transparent. You know, parents are welcome to come chaperone if they'd like to. You know, be an extra adult there. You know, to help out. We welcome that. So this is going to be powerful, and I'm excited that parents will get to see this interview, get to learn a little bit more about the vision that I have for these young men and for this initiative, and they're going to sign up, and I hope more parents, like I said, will take. I want to have 60, 70, parents signed up because a lot of times Buffalo is show and tell. Like sometimes you have to see something first. So I understand people got all these questions and what's going to look like, all this, but once we do the one for the young men and they see all of the social media, they see all the video, we're going to hire a professional videographer to document it, and they see the transformation in the young people. I think when we get ready to do our initiative for young women, we'll have to ask the question of, are we going to take more than 50? Because it's just people going to be knocking the doors down to try to get into this program, like, to replicate what we did with the young men. Because listen, we're gonna have these young men in the community. Like they're gonna be doing community service. So, if an organization is doing a neighborhood cleanup, these young men are gonna go partner. If an organization is doing Feed the Homeless Day or something, these young men are going to do, like, we're going to have them every month doing community service projects, and not just doing it begrudgingly. We're going to make it cool. Like, we're going to be on Snapchat. We're going to have our own music. They're going to have chants. It's going to be something where they're excited and they get other people excited about. And all of a sudden, we know what that domino, what that energy can feel like. And so, parents, your kid is going to be in for a ride, and they're going to be on TV and the newspaper. They're going to, they're going to feel different, because when you serve other people, when you're helping other people, it changes you.
It really does.
Like, you actually get more out of it than the people you help in most cases. So when they start doing service, when they start, we're going to teach them about activism. So we're going to teach them Dr. King's 6 steps of nonviolent direct action. So when they have an issue in their neighborhood, they're not just going to go and complain. They're going to know every step of how to contact a council member, how to call a press conference, when to call a press conference, how to write letters, right? They're going to understand how to create the change in their lives that they want to see, right? When they get in trouble in school, they're going to know, oh, wait, the code of conduct, let me see the code of conduct. Where does it show where you can discipline me in that way? They'll know what to ask for. They'll know, oh, this is wrong. You can't do that, right? And so we want to empower these young people, and that's what it's all about. Yeah,
to advocate for themselves. That's a beautiful thing. I love it. I'm so glad that you joined us today. And one more thing, okay? So you were born and raised here. What's the best thing you love about Buffalo?
The best thing I loved about Buffalo, so I'll say 2 things. I always got two. Of course, 2 is my lucky number. I
already know that.
2, just so you know, when I pledged my fraternity, I was number 2, so 2 is my lucky number.
Yeah, okay, number.
So the first thing I love about Buffalo is I went to high school with my high school sweetheart, my wife, and we ultimately got married. And so that's one of the best things about Buffalo. That's why I came back. And so number 2 is that Buffalo is the type of place that if you really work hard, you can be successful here, but you're going to meet a lot of resistance. But if you can make it through that resistance, you can make it anywhere. And so because I grew up in Buffalo, because I had to deal with all the stuff that everybody in my generation had to deal with growing up black in the hood in Buffalo, when I went to other places, I thrived in a way. People were like, where did he come from? What is happening? Like, they were blown away. But for me, it was normal because I had been through the adversity of growing up in Buffalo. So it's kind of like that saying, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So if you can do well through all the adversity here in Buffalo, like, you can go and do it anywhere at the highest level.
Yep. Well, thank you so much. I want you guys to follow him. You can reach out to us if you have any community events, if you have anything, if you know anybody that's doing anything in the community, hit us up, 716 Live. Stay locked in with us. Thank you.